Check 1, 2, 3, 4. Check 1, 2, 3, 4. Check 1, 2, 3, 4. very warm welcome to Côte d'Ivoire and welcome to Palais de Sport de Treichville in Abidjan, where Group C begins with a fascinating contrast. Rwanda arrives as the surprise champion of the Zone 5 qualies after upsetting Egypt in Cairo. Senegal shows up as one of the traditional powers of African youth basketball and bronze medalist from 2024. Rwanda will look to control the pace, protect the basketball, create some turnovers. Senegal is going to look to impose one of the tallest and deepest front courts in this tournament. It's going to be patience against power. Rwanda and Senegal to open up their 2026 U18 AfroBasketball campaigns. Hello everyone, I'm John Mott, and it's my pleasure and a privilege to bring you the live action from the Ivory Coast. We're just about set for tip-off as the teams get their last layups in, and it should be a very interesting matchup. Of course, Rwanda coming in as a team with a lot of momentum. What a great qualification they had in Cairo, upsetting that traditional power, the Egyptian team. Yeah, they almost got them in the preliminary round. Played a very spirited match and figured out enough that they needed to do to win in the finals, and came away with a very famous upset. So they're going to come in here today with nothing to fear and nothing to lose, but they haven't just shown up for the fun of it. They're here to prove something, and that against a team that is going to be a very formidable opponent. Fans of African basketball know the Senegalese know how to play the game, and they come with a big, powerful lineup, a lot of size. And tonight's game will be adjudicated by Mr. Samuel Nuhu, the referee from Nigeria. Ahmed Chiwa from Tunisia will be assisting, along with Martin Mie from Ghana. So that is the arbitrage for this evening, as we get set to tip things off here in Abidjan. One of the big mysteries for this evening, and I'm sorry I don't have more information for you, but it's going to be something that that will be a theme, and that is that Rwanda's leading scorer from those aforementioned qualifications is absent from the final tournament list. We'll talk about that throughout the broadcast, but that does put a lot of additional weight on that Rwanda offense. But I'll tell you what, they're a fun team to watch, and they were fun to watch against Egypt in both matches. They like to run and gun, but they're also very disciplined, and I put a lot of credit down to the coaching staff for having gotten them prepared. And we'll just have to see how the game plan shapes up. Of course, tournament basketball, first night. These teams haven't faced each other at this level, at the U18 level, since 2018. So it's been quite a while for those of you keeping score. Senegal beat Rwanda 99-70 in the 2018 group phase. But it's been a long time coming before these two basketballing nations got together on the hardwoods. You know, the final horn has sounded. Teams be expected to break their huddles as we await the starting lineups. Another note of interest for Rwanda: the coach of record tonight on the score sheet is Aristide Mugabe. And in that aforementioned Zone 5 final, it was Sonny Mugabe who was the head coach. And that may represent a change in the training staff, and we'll see what impact, if any, that will have on that Rwanda ball club. Rwanda's 2024 run ended with a bronze in this tournament. And they swept the group and finished 8th in that 2024 matchup. Senegal really has a pedigree in this tournament. Gold in 2012, silver in 2018 and 2020, bronze in 2024. And This iteration of the Senegalese basketball team carries some fairly substantial expectations along with them. Here we go for the opening tip-off. Controlled by Senegal. They'll play in green, move from right to left. They do so very quickly as they get a three-pointer off, just short and off the iron, but they get their own rebound and a reset. Well, one off the noggin as Diallo had a little trouble controlling, but no trouble controlling that stuff as Beng puts one down and rattles it through the rim to get the first two-pointer of the ball game. Senegal off to a good start and hold a 2-0 lead. Rwanda playing in that canary yellow and moving from left to right. Zimana is relieved of possession. Senegal moving quickly. Open jumper is way off target. Got to get that radar reset. Good attempt to keep the ball in bounds, but goes right to the opposition. Rwanda moving quickly as they like to. Watch the ball movement from Rwanda. They can really get the ball around and pass it out. There's one kicked out to the three-point territory, and that's up and over the backboard for an out of bounds. Well, both clubs showing some pace here in the early going, but both clubs showing that they need to get the rangefinder set for the shots from distance. Senegal driving the lane, tripped up, and hitting the paint. And we'll have our first foul of the afternoon, of the evening. This a 5 o'clock local time tip-off, Abidjan time. 7 o'clock on the European continent. And of course 1 o'clock back in the USA on the East Coast. At the line, Papa Diallo to shoot a couple, fouled in the act. This is the first of 2 charity tosses. Diallo, good sized point guard. 6'4", 1.94 m. Could not connect from the free throw line, and Rwanda now with a chance to equalize. Holding up and kicking out the ball is Gabuziza. And Rwanda once again with an unforced error. However, Senegal turns the ball right back over, and Rwanda will have an inbound throw from under the basket. Gabuziza to handle the honors. Gabenga on the wing to Bizimana. Ziza trying to reset things. Gets stripped of the ball. Here's a fast break. Unfortunately for Diallo, just lost the handle a little bit, but was able to recover nicely. Senegal settling in for an offensive possession. Rounded off very nicely indeed. Bang with his second 2 points of the ball game. He's got all 4 for Senegal so far. Kicked out to three-point territory. There's the shot from distance. Once again, the rangefinder not quite calibrated. Senegal moving quickly up the far wing. Bounced off the foot of Bizimana. Bidian handles the inbounder for Senegal. Wanted it back, but he's going to have to wait his turn. From three-point range, Diallo unable. Ball kept in play by Sam. Short-lived as it may be, as ball goes, despite the best intentions of Sam, out of bounds. Going to get the first points on the board. Kicked out and stripped of the ball going up is Calvin. Power forward. Unable to open the Rwanda account, and we'll have a timeout. First of two is no good for Mugisha Calvin. Part of that undersized front line, clocking in at 6'5". They're giving up inches across the board, across that front line. No, Rwanda manages to get their first notch on the score sheet. And emphatically answered by the captain, Kode Beng. Not just merely an interesting prospect. He's already delivered a 17.15 rebound performance in a Continental Medal game. Good Beng. We got a tie-up. We have a jump ball, and the arrow is in favor of Rwanda. So we'll flip the arrow. Yellow will control. Now the behind the backer goes awry, and loose ball controlled by Senegal, brought up over the timeline, just barely, almost an over and back, as Mane found himself held up but fouled in the process. So Falou Mane, who plays his club basketball in Switzerland for the Lions de Genève, the Lions of Geneva, managed to do good business at the free throw line, and Senegal have a 6-point lead and looking to add to it. Here's Sam, up and in, and extends the lead to 8 points. Point attempt is no good. Long rebound for Senegal, for Rwanda rather, but they just cannot get the ball to flow. Very poor start for Rwanda, who started so well in both games, in both the group stage and the final against Egypt. Also beating Tanzania in that qualifier in Cairo, but they dispensed to them fairly readily. But it was the two matchups against Egypt which proved so interesting for this Rwanda ball club. Mane, long inbounder, handled by Badian. Hamid Badian dishes off to Mane. Mane tries to drive lane, hits some opposition there from Muhirma. Early going, just getting used to matching up the players with the numbers. And we'll have another timeout as Rwanda needs to somehow formulate a strategy to slow down this Senegalese offense. Well, it has been all Senegal so far, as both the score and any other statistic of record would indicate. And a very promising start for the men in green, is taking a lot of advantage of their size and power to keep Rwanda at not only arm's length, but it's starting to find some considerable distance. Aristide Mugabe, the coach for Rwanda, trying to get his team fired up and find some of that inspired basketball they played in Cairo. Really nothing to be seen short of a little bit of the frenetic pace, but even then, uncontrolled. Let's see if Rwanda can now work against that Senegalese pressure. They had no trouble breaking Egyptian pressure in the qualifier. On the baseline, finally, and an emphatic opening of the scoring season for Rwanda as Mugisha Calvin rattles one home. Senegal looking to answer. Badian kicks it back out to the forecourt. Working through the paint was Diallo. Shot from distance is rebounded, taking advantage of the considerable height advantage is Mbeng, and that ends up resulting in yet another Senegalese field goal. Calvin leaves the ball off, out on the wing, 4-3. Bizimana. Just inside the circle, and count for three rather, late score. And the lead is still 9 points for Senegal. Gliding through the paint, trying to take advantage of some mismatches inside. And once again, patience pays off. Senegal with the follow-up, and Badian. Yeah, that's not what the referees are looking for this evening. Steal, miss, tip. Rwanda controls. They need to do a better job of hanging onto the basketball with a little bit more controlled offense. No need to panic yet. They need to shake off the early game jitters. Well, there's a bit of a prayer that almost turned out on the right side. The turnaround from Muhirma is also no good. Senegal controls and brings the ball back up to the floor. Look at the poise and patience of the Senegalese ball club as contrasted against Rwanda. Just missing the stroke is Babacar Sam. Hirwa. Back out to the wing. Yet another miss from three-point distance for Bizimana. Mane trying to take it all by himself. Ran into some opposition there from Bizimana. Rwanda trying to cut into that lead, and unforced error as Ziza throws one away, and we'll get a substitution on the floor as Muhirwa will take a piece of bench. And Doba heading down to the dressing rooms, might have to make a sanitary stop. Faye, substitution for Senegal, now in control from the point. Three-pointer from the wing, a little too rich, controlled by the Faka. Well, I said controlled, but not quite. Calvin with the inbounder. Kazaniza, one of the players coming off the bench for Rwanda here in the first period. Under 2 minutes to go in the first quarter play, and a good-looking short ranger from Faye. What a difficult shot that is to make. Another turnover with conversion from Senegal. Just that easy. And it's not as though they're making it look easy. Badian with a nice layup, but no, Rwanda are handing them golden opportunities after golden opportunity. Now Kaita. Another squandered offensive possession for Rwanda. Just enough chance to get some of that perspiration up out of the key. Njai, substitute off the bench. Just over a minute left to play. Cross-court pass from Fai to Njai. A little too hot to handle. Yeah, Rwanda will look to close out this first quarter of play on a strong note. Across the timeline. Driving the lane, leaving it off. Kicked back out, and yet another turnover for Rwanda. Diallo moving quickly. He is rejected inside the circle. Kabenga. Zeneza. Zeneza, nifty move. Rwanda cannot find the distance from three, but a lovely pickup by Kabenga to at least get a couple of points out of the effort. Senegal able to formulate an answer to just about anything Rwanda wants to throw at them. And there's a turnover. And boy, these are starting to turn to be very costly. Well, a little bit of clumsiness right after the turnovers. Diallo committing theft, but wasn't mindful of where that end line was and stepped on it. And that will give Rwanda one last possession and perhaps yet another shot. They'll need to move quickly and they don't get it off. It's been a sloppy quarter of basketball for Rwanda, but we know the potential that the fellas in Canary Yellow have inside of them. We saw it in the qualifiers in Cairo, and we hope to see it a bit more in the second quarter of play than we did in the first. As for Senegal, much as expected, this is a great basketballing nation, and they know how to handle the pressure, and so far so good for the Senegalese side. We'll take a little break, and we'll be right back with the second quarter, where Senegal leads Rwanda 24-10. You're watching the group phase, Group C, here from Abidjan in Côte d'Ivoire. Senegal coming back onto the court. So Senegal need to do a little adjustment on the output levels. Senegal coming back into the second quarter with a lot of stride in their step. A little bit of a miscue on that possession, but they have dominated the game thus far, holding the 14-point lead after the first period. Rwanda looking to change their fortunes. Ball kicked out two-pointer exchanged for a three, and neither are very successful at that. Senegal looking to pick up where they left off in the first quarter. Transition the ball around the horn. Faka. There's one kicked out to Diallo. Diallo drives the lane. Oh, it was pretty, and somehow got it to fall. Well, they say better lucky than good, and if you've got Doucouré waiting to pick up the pieces, why, so much the better. Rwanda moving from left to right here in the period. Well, now things are moving very quickly from right to left, and that is Senegal emphatically jamming the ball home for the second bucket of the second period. And it is once again Doucouré coming off the bench and putting his stamp on the game right from the get-go. Kaita runs one back. Kazaneza from distance. Safe to say Rwanda cannot buy a basket. Faye ran out of territory and is ruled out of bounds. Arbitrage working a good game so far. They're letting a lot go in terms of physical contact. Of course, that's par for the course in African basketball. Very physical brand of basketball. Not for the weak of heart. Physicality is a must. Senegal certainly have the pedigree to exploit that particular facet of the game. Calvin loses the ball before he can get to the timeline. Frustration on the face of the captain, Mugisha Calvin. Diallo gets the ball right back. Faka. Lovely stroke. Good for 2 points. Senegal extending the lead to 21. Ziza leaves off. Oh, lovely. That could be the spark. Mugisha Calvin, the captain, leading the way. Well, it was a last-minute dish, and Calvin making the best of it could turn this into a three-point offensive possession. He does so. 30-13 the count. Senegal by 17. Little help from the backside. Rejects the Senegalese chance as Wishima, came in to provide some assistance in the paint. Once again, Rwanda unable to fully take advantage of the advantages that they're given. That could prove fatal. Senegal, Faye leaves it. Up and in, off the glass for Doucouré. Kari Doucouré has really made an impact since coming off the bench. Zimana hands the ball off. Slotted out to the wing for a three-pointer, and they have been unsuccessful from three-point land all night long. Alley-oop, up and in. Good recovery by Papa Faye. Ngambonziza controlling from the point. Decides to attempt one himself, and like so many three-point attempts before, you're unable to convert. Now Senegal threatening to run away with it now. Just pouring on the heat. Well, when it goes wrong, or rather the expression is, when it rains, it pours. And it is just pouring misfortune right now as Ushema unable to convert on the fast break. Faka connecting. Rwanda trying to catch the Senegalese defense sleeping, and that they did. But King Ariel Ushema unable to convert at the other end of the basketball floor. As we are just over 5.5 minutes left to play in the first half, and it's just been more of the same here in the second period. Mercifully, Senegal unable to convert that three-pointer. Boy, if they could really start hitting from three, this would be over in a second. As the the team from Rwanda absolutely unable to convert anything from outside the three-point stripe. Also inside the three-point stripe, things aren't going particularly well for the guys in yellow. They certainly are going swimmingly for the ball club from Senegal. Bang with a couple more points to add to his score sheet totals. We'll get you all caught up on the leading scores before we break, or coming out of the break at the half. But certainly among the leaders will be Kode Mbeng, the Senegalese captain. No, nothing in the offing for Senegal off the rebound. Rwanda with 4.5 left to go. They'll need to start chipping away at that lead already in this half. And for Muhirwa. Joshua Alvin Muhirwa. Well, no travel call there. Kick it out to the far wing. Pocket is trying to test the waters inside the crease, and eventually his penetration results in 2 points. I believe those were tallied on the wrong side of the board. It's one way for Rwanda to get some points, but I think those will be taken off just as quickly as they appeared. If you're watching that scoring bug, that last bucket from Senegal ended up over on the Rwanda side of the balance sheet. Faye, good morning. Good evening. And the dish to the captain, Mbeng. And Nomen est Omen, because that was definitely an Mbeng there on the iron at the Senegalese offensive side. Ping! Pops. Can't get it to drop. Calvin would love to take up that leadership role. And finally, we notice that there's a fella inside the charge arc who was not necessarily charged, but was feeling a little bit worse for the wear. There was that alley-oop, emphatically rounded off by Mbeng. Mbeng plays his hoops in Spain on the island of Gran Canaria. Big 2'5", 18-year-old. If you look at the team height average, which can be skewed, but just in general give you an indication of what these lineups look like. Senegal, 197. And Rwanda is spotting them 5 centimeters across the board, clocking a 192 average across their roster. Rwanda coaching staff is going to have to come up with a few answers at halftime, and come up with a whole new strategy. Peng. Here's for Bizimana. Bizimana, nope. Also not. Memory serves, they've got one three-pointer, and that's about the fifth alley-oop, if I'm counting correctly. This time, Doucouré on the finishing end. And he may have been asked to be a little bit more gentler with the backboards. Still a lot of pressure being applied in the forecourt by Senegal. Rwanda able to break it. And looking with 2:40 to go. That's an over and back. Yes, sir. And the defensive pressure in all areas of the court from Senegal, really putting the team from Rwanda through the paces. Papa Diallo. Bounder falls to Mané. Mané picks up a screen from Doucouré. Stops, pops, in and out. Rwanda unable to get that fast break going in transition. Unrelentless, the defensive pressure from Senegal. Frederic Mané rejecting an inbound pass. Zipped out to Calvin on the wing. Try again. This time Calvin will drive. Pushing foul. And with 2:04 left to go, Rwanda will inbound from under the basket right after a couple of substitutions. Substitution now duly noted. I believe that was the holdup, as Babacar Sam needed to be noted by the scorers. And we get a late substitution on the break. Sen checking in for Senegal and making himself known. Bats the ball out of bounds. Elmani Sen plays for Nantes in the French competition. Calvin throws up a prayer, can't get anything to fall. Quick transition for Senegal. Two and potentially another. Or did we get a travel violation? I believe so. Even in a competition which will grant the Eurostep very graciously. That was a little too egregious for the arbitrage. Diallo called for traveling. Rwanda with 141 is trying to cobble together some points. Nothing doing. Senegalese defense is just stifling. And the offense is almost equal to the task of being hot. There's Sen with a lovely little shot reminiscent of Mr. Abdul-Jabbar. Not really a sky hook. A little bit of a floater that looked just as lovely. Thank you very much. And it is just all Senegal at this point. Good defensive block. And unfortunately for Rwanda, Sen was right there for the rebound, and the favor is returned. Dukure swats one out of bounds. So you're going to block us down at the other end? Here you go. Under a minute. Benga. Good follow. Steady rebound for Bizimana. It is going to take a lot more of that in the second half to get Rwanda back in this ball game. Not exactly sure. I think that may have been a traveling call that wasn't picked up in the first instance and had to be applied after the fact. Ganza now is, I believe that's the final substitution for Rwanda. They've now cleared the bench out at least once here in the early going. One last touch for the Canary Yellow of Rwanda. Shot off at the buzzer and much more of the same. And we'll have one last touch for Senegal off the inbounds as Ganza unable to impress upon entering into the match. And with that, the time has expired. Well, the scoreboard speaks for itself. It's been so far a rather summary beatdown by Senegal applied to Rwanda. However, we do know that Rwanda can play a very fast brand of basketball. They're going to have to do that with a lot more success from the offensive output in the second half as they try to formulate an answer to the absolutely dynamic offense and oppressive defense of Senegal. 48-17 at the interchange. We'll take a break and we'll be back to resume festivities here from Abidjan in Côte d'Ivoire. Welcome back to the Palais de Sport de Treichville here in Abidjan in Côte d'Ivoire, as we are just about set to get things back underway in this Group C meetup between Rwanda and Senegal. And as the score bug will pop up in the screen, if you didn't already know, it has been all Senegal so far. They left the floor with a 31-point lead to finish things up at the first half, and Rwanda went in the locker room to try to do a little bit of soul searching and figure out a strategy to claw their way back into the game. Tall task indeed, and we'll see if the fellas in Canary Yellow are up to it. Well, Senegal puts the opening shot over the bow and connects on a three-pointer. They didn't shoot exceptionally well from three-point land in the first half, but they did shoot 60% of their field goals, as opposed to an abysmal 33% of Rwanda, and that combined with a lot of turnovers and a lot of Senegalese points off turnover are pretty much the story as far as the score line here going into the third period of play. Rwanda, of course, in yellow, playing from right to left across your screen here in the third period. Shot from three-point land. They connected on very few of any of their shots, especially from three-point land, as Diallo picks up where he left off in the first half. Calvin, the leading scorer from Rwanda, managed to pick up 6 points in the first half to lead all Rwandan scorers. So they're trying to control the tempo a little bit, but they're going to have to keep a handle on the ball. Unforced error, and yet another turnover for Senegal. You would have thought they got all of them out of their system in the first half. Senegal with 14 points off turnovers in the first half. 14 fast break points, 10 second chance points, and 38 points in the paint. Even Senegal commits a mishap now and again, and Rwanda better hope there's more where that came from, as Chiwa signals the clock ready to start. Running floater, no good. Rebound, also no good. Will we get a third chance? No. Ball out of bounds and belongs to the green team. 2 minutes played. Senegal picking up the pace from the first half, showing no signs of letting up. They were playing dynamic offense and tenacious defense right to the closing horn of the first half of play. Mukure, the number 2 scorer, dishes. Came off the bench to really make an impact on the ball game. Second chancer, no good for Sam. Babacar Sam comes up empty. Calvin across the timeline. Looks like the captain's going to try to put this thing on his shoulders. I hit a turnaround jumper, no good. Calvin getting into the paint, runs into a world of trouble, and perhaps a foul will at least salvage a bit of the offensive opportunity for Rwanda. Bizimana connects on a much-needed free throw. Of course, just about everything is much needed right now for Rwanda. Free throws, field goals, three-pointers, and a lot of turnovers and a lot of luck. Team that came into this tournament with a lot of confidence, as we see Papa Fai check into the ball game. A lot of confidence coming out of that qualification just a short while ago in Cairo, defeating Egypt in the title game. Big upset. Egypt spotting about 25 points of FIBA World Rankings as Doucouré picking up where he left off in the first half. Senegal, a little bit of half-hearted pressure, still causing fits for that Rwandan offense. Gamonziza having all kinds of difficulty. And a substitution coming in for Rwanda, double substitution. As Gamonziza, along with Bizimana, will check out of the ball game. Shema, amongst others, coming in. Kabenga. Was not shy to throw it up in the first half, just rather unsuccessful in conversions was Mbenga. As Kazeneza ends up relinquishing possession to Senegal. And they'll move unopposed into the forecourt. Badiana. Foul. Or did we have a travel? We did. Little dancing without the music for Mohamed Badiana. Kazeneza squares up and is unable to get his range set correctly. Backing out to the point is Fai. Distributes to Sam. Sam, jumper from the free throw line. Ball collected by Muhirwa. Kabenga converts the first of two free throws. Manzi Enzo Kabenga, the shooting guard, plays for Espoir BC in Rwanda. 16-year-old, so on the youngest end of eligibility for this squad, and the youngster unable to convert to the second of two free throws. Lead is 34 points for Senegal. They look to extend. Doucouré, he is rung up for taking an extra step on the way to the rim. Traveling the call. And looks like the arbitrage may have made the decision at halftime to clamp down a little bit on those extra steps. They seemed a little bit lenient, in the first half. Swung out to the perimeter, but Senegal in no particular hurry to get a shot up. Here's one that falls for a lovely arching three-pointer. And who other than Bakary Doucouré. Doucouré plays his club basketball in the United Arab Emirates, playing for the Dubai Basketball Club. And nota bene, Doucouré is one of the youngest on the floor, clocking in at 15 years of age. Madiana. And Senegal is just pouring it on now. 40-point lead with 4.5 left in the third quarter. The captain, Gisha Calvin, the 18-year-old. You know, going back to Doucouré, while we have a little bit of a break in the action, putting the numbers together on his line, that's a 15-year-old who on tape is 2.9 meters. That's a big 15-year-old. He has a lot of prospects ahead of him. And spectators on hand backing the Senegalese ball club. And enjoying what they're seeing. Could have been called a carry, but everything's working right for Senegal this evening. Also have the sneaking suspicion that the game officials are not going to be as finely tuned as you might be in a hotly contested battle. A little bit of carry would get some latitude. One thing's for sure, Senegal is not giving up the pressing defense. And I understand it is a tournament and you got to stay sharp, and I suspect that Coach Mohamed Sena wants to keep his ball club sharp and wants to also look at tape and see how well they are reacting with regard to the press. This Group C not considered one of the easiest with Tunisia and Cameroon also in the group. They played a slightly more spirited match this afternoon, with Cameroon coming out on the long end of a 53-41 group phase game against Tunisia. And a lot of this also applies to Rwanda in terms of with the tournament. Barring the miracle of Abidjan, it's going to be a tough one to swallow, but they're going to have to do it quickly and they're going to have to do it effectively. And they're going to have to do some soul searching, but mostly they're going to have to go back and look to what made them so successful in their previous outing against Egypt. And yes, I do realize that that was without the services of their leading scorer in that tournament, whose name does escape me and of course doesn't appear on the roster at this moment. But that has been a significant miss for this Rwandan ball club, and running into all kinds of trouble and obstacles is King Ariel Uwishema. And Uwishema will head to the charity stripe. One of two big fellas on the club. 2.5 meters, together with Muherwa. Uwishema, pardon. Once again, I'll get it right at some point. playing for Inspired Generation Club in Rwanda. Rebound controlled by Fai. Absolutely no delay, absolutely no taking the foot off the gas, and Dunfakwa nails one for three. And the lead is back to 40. Ball shoveled ahead. Very little mercy. Ndaya takes the ball to the point, runs it back to Fai. Fai to the big fella in the paint. He's stripped of the ball, and the return favor is for Fai, who is fouled on the way up to the cylinder. So with 2:20 left to go here in the third quarter. Why rather Papa Fai will have the opportunity to hone his craft from the free throw line. One of two. Fai, who plays for the ASCC Bop Club in Senegal, converts the first. Rattles one around and gets it to fall, as we will get a timeout with 2:20 remaining here in the third quarter. Of course, this is the first action for both clubs in the tournament here on day number 2. They will return to action on the 8th as Group C resumes festivities with Rwanda facing off against Cameroon, and Senegal has an appointment with, well, it's a 7 o'clock tip-off, so I will take a page out of the Dizzy Gillespie songbook and say it will be a night with Tunisia. Not necessarily in Tunisia, but with Tunisia. And that should be an interesting matchup as well. And we'll look for Rwanda to make a better showing for themselves against Cameroon, but we've still got a lot of basketball to play here. And we'll keep an eye on the resilience of this Rwanda ball club. We certainly haven't seen what we saw in Cairo, but we can rest assured that the spirit is still very much intact within that ball club. Oh, is the confidence a little bit dented at this juncture? It's also wonderful to enjoy the talent on display from Senegal. They continue playing an absolutely voracious brand of defense. Senegalese team is not only individually well coached at the skill level, but hats off to the Senegal coaching staff for getting the national team cobbled into shape in time for this tournament. And generally speaking, you're only going to get better in a tournament, and that does not bode well for Tunisia. Under 2 minutes left to play here in the third quarter. Kazineza takes the ball, looks to inbound. Off the glass, no good. Rebound, also no good, but a foul rung up against Mketenjai. Another one of the big fellas. Njai at 2 meters 5, 6'9" if you're still stuck on the English system of measurement. With the foul, and at the line, Mamadi Bizimana. Bizimana plays for the Intare club in Rwanda. Just absolutely nothing going right for the team in yellow. Of course, I put a jinx on that one, and they do manage to eke out a turnover. But it's all going to be too little, too late. And like I say, I don't want to discourage anyone from watching the entirety of the ball club, because we're really going to keep an eye on Rwanda and see if we can find some indication that says their heart and soul is in this, and they've got just every possibility against their following opponent. And once again, Senegal putting on an absolute clinic on both ends of the floor, and it's just an absolute pleasure to watch these young gentlemen play basketball. And Senegal's putting the rest of the tournament on notice. And don't think for a second that the fellas over in Group A and B aren't having a look. Tournament got off to a flying start yesterday. Madagascar and Gabon playing to a 68-65 decision. It was Mali taking care of business against Morocco, 66-45. Egypt with a very impressive victory, especially considering the fact they were unable to defeat Rwanda in the tournament on home soil. But they managed to crank out a 95-68 winner against Nigeria. And the fourth match of the ball of the day was the home side, Cote d'Ivoire, winning against Chad in emphatic fashion, doubling up Chad and then some with a final count of 104-51. Just a summary beating by the home side in front of a raucous crowd. Absolutely wonderful to see. Had a group of dancers up in the top section, and they were up and at it, dressed in their home colors orange, and creating just an absolutely wonderful vibe last night here from this Palais de Sport de Treichville. 20 seconds in the third period. Rwanda with no particular sense of hurry. I think they know that they really at this point just need to play their best basketball. Finish up healthy, finish up resilient, and keep calm about them. Not an easy task at all. But part of the game. And every once in a while, the cards are stacked against you, and you're going to come up on the losing end of things. As Neza will take solace in the fact that his free throw shooting looks pretty good at the moment. And the lefty strokes the second one for another point. And the last chance for Senegal, and don't you think they won't get a shot off? Well, they may not. A little bit of the old-fashioned Marcus Haynes dribbling exhibition by accident for Njai. And the third quarter comes to a close, and it has been more of the same and then some. Senegal with a resounding lead against Rwanda, 65-28. And we will come back to wrap things up with the fourth quarter from this Group C matchup between Senegal and Rwanda after a couple of minutes.
à peu près 15 minutes. Qu'est-ce que tu veux de plus? Moi, je ne peux pas rentrer à ta place. Il faut que vous jouez votre partition. Fais les bons choix. Quand tu dribbles, il y a un gars qui vient, on fait la passe en bas. Maguette, c'est la même chose. Vous nous retirez. Soyez plus calme. C'est pas normal. On a marqué combien de points? On a dit qu'on doit être 25 points par 4 ans. Mais on a l'impression qu'on est à l'aise maintenant. C'est pas normal. On prend la transition, on cherche le joueur devant et on donne des coups. On ne reste pas statique à regarder le ballon. Vous êtes en train de jouer au meilleur tireur à 3 points. Non. Drivez. Tous les tirs qui sont rentrés n'étaient pas des tirs qui devaient rentrer. Parce que ça n'a aucune logique. Ça n'a aucune logique. Vous avez tiré pour tirer.
Alexa, what is 65 minus 28? So instructions for the final period of play being issued by both sides. As Senegal comes back onto the hardwoods, sporting a 37-point advantage against Rwanda. And what has just been an absolute display of basketball power this evening from Abidjan. Anzi Kabenga to restart things for Rwanda, facing off against Odor Njai. Calvin dishes out to three-point territory, and Mohamed Keita runs into some strife there inside the paint. He will be treated to an all-expenses trip to the free throw line. Plays his club basketball for Intara. And connects on the first of two charity tosses. Rebound for Faye. Faye, in the meantime, one of the leading scorers in the ball game, tied for number one for Senegal with Doucouré, both on 11 points. Sen unable to find the basket, and Senegal afforded yet another chance. Three-point shot, no good. Rebound was controlled by Rwanda and is yet once again. Still a lot of pressure by Senegal, not making life any easier for Rwanda. Keita. Calvin. Looked good off the shot, just didn't have the distance, and that one does. That's a three-pointer for Hugo Victor Ngambonziza. Jai off the mark. Sen tried to get some recovery there, but was unable to keep it in bounds. Turnover. And of course, one thing to keep in mind, especially for the Senegal Ball Club, is to talking about keeping the foot on the gas. I mean, this is U18. Guys are out there playing for exposure. They're playing for playing time to get more exposure. You take your foot off the gas, you may find yourself riding the pines in the next ball game. So everybody really still hitting on all cylinders and trying to make as good impression, not just on their own coaching staff, but on a number of scouts present and perhaps watching from home. And there have been some very impressive participants on both clubs for that matter, but especially for the Senegalese outfit. Of course, this tournament billed as the future of African stars, and that it is. Expect to see a number of these players for a good number of years playing for their respective countries. Just a bit over 7 minutes left to go. This will be a test of the mettle of Rwanda. Diallo forced the, I believe that was going to be an alley-oop, but almost looked like a blocked shot from Senegal as Doucouré was unable to really do anything with it. And I think he just wanted to keep it in bounds. Now secures a turnover, but commits one himself. So Doucouré showing that he is too only human, albeit a 15-year-old giant out there on the court. He tried to get into him at the low post and unable to get the address proper. Rwanda still trying to get their chances, trying to get their points. So very little has gone well for this Rwanda ball club this evening. Calvin and Bizimana lead the Rwanda club in terms of points, both on 8, as Muherwa finishes up a trip to the free throw line. 6 and change left to go. .5 advantage. Senegal absolutely filthy about relinquishing any unearned points as they continue to grind, especially down in the paint, as the captain, Calvin, finds out. He'll have to earn his points the old-fashioned way. Driving the paint, and Diallo moves the margin back to 36. Well, there's something we haven't seen that often this evening. Lovely little dish to Muherwa, and he's able to convert, and we'll get a timeout called with Senegal leading Rwanda 71-37.
passe au GMT, on recherche le jeu à 3 ici, big man à l'intérieur. Ok, mes gars, il faut qu'on défende.
.519 left to go, or endure, depending on who you're rooting for this evening. For the Senegalese fans, it's been a raucous evening and an impressive showing of power. For Rwanda, a bit of a head scratcher, I'm sure. For the neutral fans, of course, chance to reflect on how far do we think this Senegalese team can go. Time will tell as the tournament develops and we move into day 3. There's a full slate of basketball on offer, and not to forget that the ladies are also busy, as Diallo is just absolutely unsatisfied with his scoreline and wants to pad those stats as best he can. He has now become the leading scorer for Senegal on 14 points, is Papa Moussa Diallo. 4 minutes left to go. We'll have another powwow on the sideline. Gives us a chance to talk about tomorrow's action on day 3 on the men's side of the equation. And I'm terribly sorry, I skipped a, no I didn't. Day 3, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong page. My apologies. I'm back synchronized and ready to go. Full lineup of action as both groups A and B will play on the men's side, with things tipping off at 12 o'clock, which is both the local time in Cote d'Ivoire and UTC, so that makes things easy. So at noon, Chad will face off against Nigeria. At 2:30, it will be Mali against Gabon. At 5 o'clock, home side Cote d'Ivoire will square off against the Pharaohs of Egypt. And the nightcap will tip off at 7:30 local time with Madagascar squaring off against the Atlas Lions of Morocco. And the ladies will see action in Group C with a match at 1:30 UTC between Senegal and Tunisia. And of course, those are the ladies seated behind the men's team with broad grins and enjoying themselves immensely here with their team in a summary victory so far. And they will face Tunisia tomorrow in a matchup which will tip off at 1:30 local time, and why at 4 o'clock Nigeria will square off against Cameroon. So that is your day 3 lineup. Plenty of basketball from U18 AfroBasket on both the men's and women's side of things. Senegal looking to finish up strong. No signs of letting up from Rwanda, as Muherwa is not going to allow Doucouré to get an unabated run to the basket. Three and a half left to play. The big 15-year-old steps up to the charity stripe. Good form. Gets tapped up a little bit. Two for two goes Doucouré. Now responsible for 15 points, and that, I believe, makes him the leading scorer. No. Yes, it does. Shot from distance. Oh, they just have not fallen at all tonight. Here's a 2-on-1 opportunity. Pulls up for three. Nothing doing. Diallo moving quickly. Of course, he wants to be the leading scorer. Oh, almost got tripped up. Boy, he recovered nicely, but wasn't able to do much with the basketball after that. He'll send you run the floor. Diallo kicks one out. There's a shot from distance from Njai. Calvin. Lone standout offensively for Rwanda. More substitutions. Both Mane and Maketenjai will be asked to presumably serve out the last 2.5 minutes. And finally, a little bit of air letting from Senegal. We'll see how long that lives. 5 left on the shot clock. Rest assured, they're going to try to put a couple more points on the score sheet. Unable. Brings the ball over the timeline. Everybody's going to try their three-pointers. Might as well. Calvin says, I'll try a two-pointer, and comes up with a blocked shot as a result. A little alley-oop to finish things off for the big fella. Rounds things out. And with 1:21, we'll get presumably the last discussion of the evening. As things wind down here in the Palais des Sports de Treichville. Stadium personnel with broom in hand, ready to get things all cleaned up to do it all over again tomorrow. If you enjoyed this call or found it at least tolerable, I'll be doing the English commentary from the men's side tomorrow. I'll handle duties from the first match at 12 local between Chad and Nigeria, and we'll handle the very interesting game, at least from my perspective, I hope from yours as well, between Côte d'Ivoire and Egypt at 5 o'clock local time. Malik Daho will handle Mali against Gabon and Madagascar against Maroc in the French language. And both of the ladies' matchups will be in French as well. But even if you are not, that's not the lingua franca, rest assured the action will speak for itself in the matchups between Senegal and Tunisia and Nigeria and Cameroon. Of course, all this at least on the men's side of things, looking for a seat at the table in next year's Worlds in the Czech Republic. There's a lot on offer, and Senegal trying to make their case for a trip to the Czech Republic. 1 minute remaining as Podor Njaya will try to let at least 10 more seconds elapse from the game clock. He'll get a chance to practice his free throw shooting, as he's fouled en route to the basket. Just a little bit more than 3/4 of a minute left to play. As the guard who plays, the 17-year-old guard who plays his club ball for US Rail in Senegal, is unable to convert both of his free throws. Goes 1 for 2. Gonza trying to put on another dribbling exhibition, gets himself into big trouble. Have to hurry to even get off a shot. Gonza better throw one up. He does. Comes up empty and a foul. Oh boy. You know, that was unnecessary, and Papa Fai knows that. He would just as soon be heading to the showers. Well, it got a little bit clumsy, and the arbitrage not willing to let things get out of hand, as well they shouldn't, following the rules of the game. As Kelvin Gonza-Hirwa is up at the free throw line and unable to sink one. He'll get another, of course, as he was shooting from downtown, as it were. Squirted right out of the hands of Fai. And now 15 seconds left. We will have a traveling call. A few too many steps from Weshima. Njai will allow the remaining time to expire. Handshakes will be exchanged. And for Senegal, a resounding victory and an opening salvo here in the Group C action from AfroBasket, as they managed to cobble together a 40-point win against Rwanda. So a lot of soul searching will be going on back at the Rwandan hotel this evening, as Aristide Mugabe will have to tell his fellas to keep their heads up high, because they've got to bounce back, and bounce back I believe they shall. They showed a lot of class in Cairo, and even though they might be shorthanded at the moment, there's still a lot of talent on that ball club. So we'll look for them to bounce back in their next outing, which will take place on the 8th against Cameroon. For Senegal, they will look at the tape and they'll like a lot of what they see, and they will fine-tune and get ready for a tilt on the 8th as well against Tunisia. Until then, and for fans of the game, perhaps till tomorrow when I'll be on the call for the Group C matchups. Pardon, for the Group B matchup here in Cote d'Ivoire. I'm John Mon. It's been my pleasure and a privilege. Hopefully you've enjoyed yourself, no matter which side of the ball game you were, no matter which team you were rooting for. And if you were neutral, hopefully you enjoyed watching the youngsters do their very best to get themselves a step further towards qualification as we close things out here from Abidjan. Final score, Senegal 78, Rwanda 38. It's been my pleasure, and until the next time, bye-bye.